over 20 games into the regular season, and it's become very clear that the superior conference is the Eastern Conference. What's wild about the Eastern Conference is that the Boston Celtics are sitting at the 11th seed, and they are one game above 500. I can't remember a time when the Eastern Conference was one, this deep, and two, clearly better than the other conference. Now, the Western Conference obviously has the two best teams in the NBA so far in the Golden State Warriors and the Phoenix Suns, but if you're talking about just overall depth and just overall the amount of good teams in each conference, the East has been clearly better. And so far this year, we've kind of just been naturally enamored with the new teams on the scene, like the revitalized Chicago Bulls, the retooling of the Washington Wizards. The Brooklyn Nets are still the top team in the conference record-wise, with Kevin Durant probably playing some of the best basketball of his career. The Charlotte Hornets are 3 games above 500. It's just a really deep conference, and we're not even talking about some of the playoff teams like the Atlanta Hawks and the defending NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Bucks have been making hay in the Eastern Conference standings lately. They are currently on a 7-game winning streak after one Jrue Holiday was out with a left ankle injury and Khris Middleton was shelved while he was in coronavirus health and safety protocol, and their starter Brook Lopez has only played 1 game, which was opening night. But now that the big three is back together for the Milwaukee Bucks, talking about Khris Middleton, Jrue Holiday, and Giannis, the Bucks have been rolling. And they're not even fully healthy yet, which is the scary part. Now, the Bucks have kind of been not flying under the radar, but I think a lot of people, much like with the Phoenix Suns, haven't really made much to their slow start to this season because, one, they were in the finals, and they've kind of earned, the benefit of the doubt. And with the Bucks, they've earned the championship pedigree. Kind of like, okay, well, this team has made deep playoff runs. I'm just going to give them the benefit of the doubt. We'll just wait until the playoffs. And we also acknowledge that, again, as mentioned before, their big three was pretty much out with injuries, health and safety protocol, and their starting center has been out. They have been mixing and matching different starting lineups this year, while Giannis has kind of just been trying to hold the fort down until reinforcements come back, and that's what he did. And now that the big three is back in whole, the Bucks have been on a 7-game winning streak. Jrue Holiday played a couple of games before that, but Khris Middleton coming back on November 17th against the Lakers made the big three whole again, and ever since then, they have been on a roll. And they've kind of been on a terrifying roll. Now, it definitely does help that in the 7-game winning streak, you've been playing sock and boppers pretty much with a lot of really bad and young teams. A Lakers team without LeBron, a Nuggets team without Jokic, you beat the Magic twice, you beat the Pistons, the Pacers, but that's kind of a good way to get a rhythm in if your big three is just coming back together. And they've kind of been terrifying. The numbers have absolutely been terrifying over the last 2 weeks. Right now, the Bucks are 11th in offensive rating per cleaning the glass and 8th in defensive rating. But over the last 2 weeks, their offensive rating has been 6th at 116.5 points per 100 possessions. And their defense has been absolutely stifling, allowing 96.1 points per 100 possessions, which is first over the last 2 weeks. And they've had a net rating of plus 20.4. These are similar numbers that the Bucks have been posting the last few years, well, with the exception of last year, because the Bucks' defensive rating last year was kind of wonky because they were trying out new things, they were trying out more switches, they were trying to figure out different levels of drop coverage with Brook Lopez. The Bucks were clearly experimenting from the playoff failures in the bubble, and then of course that experimentation kind of coalesced into a great playoff run that resulted in a championship. The roster is starting to come back, the continuity is coming back, and the Bucks are looking more and more like the Bucks. Some of their additions have been incredible as well. While Donte DiVincenzo is still coming back from left ankle surgery, Grayson Allen has just been great as the 4th guy in the starting lineup. The Bucks traded for Grayson Allen from the Memphis Grizzlies in a series of moves that I did not like from the Grizzlies this past offseason. But anyway, they traded for Grayson Allen. They agreed to a 2-year rookie extension, so he's locked in through at least 2024. And he's been a godsend for the Bucks. He's provided great shooting, like usual. He's averaging 14 points and 4 rebounds, and Allen is kind of doing this on 45, 42.4, and 90 shooting splits, 42% from 3 if you didn't catch the number. Semi Ojeleye really hasn't done much, but I don't expect him to really get any more rotation minutes, even if he comes back from this calf injury once all the big reinforcements come back. But the Bucks are starting to rack up some wins, they're starting to round into form, and they're going to be playing some tougher teams over the next couple of games, the Miami Heat being one example. But getting a rhythm and going on a winning streak like this breeds confidence for the Bucks. And on top of that, of course, I know it's funny. I said in my Jokic video that Giannis was kind of off to a slow start offensively, just in terms of efficiency, and he was averaging like 25 points a game at that point. And think about this, 25 points a game is struggling for Giannis. That's just how high I think of him as a player. I think he's the best player in the world. But now Giannis is starting to really ramp it up, and he has officially crashed the MVP rankings party. Giannis is averaging 27, 12, and 6 on 52.6% shooting from the field, and the Bucks are a near plus 14 net rating when he is on the court. The true shooting percentage is still under 60, but trust me, by the end of the year, it's probably going to be like 62 or some shit. But Giannis has been dominant, and Khris Middleton is now back, and I expect him to still kind of knock the rust off, but Jrue Holiday's back as well. Mike Budenholzer kind of adjusted, putting Bobby Portis in the starting lineup as the de facto center over Thanasis Antetokounmpo, who I like him as an energy player, but having him as a starter was, I wasn't a fan of it personally. But the Bucks have made some tweaks here and there to their roster in the offseason. They've kind of held the fort down while people are coming back. And think about this, when their full rotation, their full complement of players come back, by the time the playoffs roll around, the Bucks will be one of the deeper teams in the NBA. I mean, you already have Giannis, Khris, and Jrue. Brook Lopez is probably going to be taking his time coming back. Back injuries are nothing to mess with. Donte DiVincenzo, who was really, really solid on defense last year and is another guy who can space the floor for Giannis and the rest of the big three. It looks like he's going to be taking his time coming back from left ankle surgery, but if and when Brook Lopez and DiVincenzo come back, the Bucks rotation is going to be 10 deep. Pat Connington has turned into a legitimate 3-and-D guy. Now, I know if you look at Pat Connaughton's numbers overall, he's been a minus when he's been on the floor for the Milwaukee Bucks, but you have to watch some of the games and watch his impact, and also realize that he's been a minus 63 in the 8 games that he started, so that's contributed to it, but he has legitimately turned into a 3-and-D player, and once the full complement of rotation players come back, Pat will probably be in his normal minutes and rotation patterns. But Pat Connington has been awesome this year. He's averaging over 12 points a game, 5 rebounds, and he is shooting a career high 41.4% from 3. So if you just look down this Bucks roster, some of the players that normally wouldn't get playing time are getting valuable experience. But once the full complement of guys come back, I imagine, as Pat Connington moves back into his regular rotation pattern, guys like second-year player Jordan Nwora, who just does not see a shot that he doesn't like. He probably won't be seeing much time when the full roster comes back. Probably the same for Rodney Hood. Can't imagine Semi Ojeleye is going to get many rotational minutes when the full complement of players come back. Semi Ojeleye, I have to say, I was really high on him in the draft. He was somebody I wanted the Sixers to take actually in the second round because I thought he was a theoretical 3-and-D wing, and he's just been flat out awful for the Bucks. So I can't imagine he's going to get actual rotation minutes if the full team is healthy. The Bucks will be legitimately 9 or 10 deep, and they can once again mix and match all kinds of different lineups. Well, they could anyway because Giannis is the ultimate queen on the chessboard. But my point is, the Bucks, even on this winning streak, I feel like they haven't even come close to their full potential yet. Once they get their complement of players back, once they get reacclimated with each other, I just see no reason why the Bucks shouldn't be favored to come out of the East. I just think the Bucks are poised for a big regular season type of win streak. Maybe not to the extent of the Suns where they have won 16 games in a row, but I just feel like we are seeing the early rumblings of a big time rip through the schedule type of win streak for the defending champs.